Hello, beautiful people. My name is Kristen. Thank you for stopping by my channel. I have a library sale book haul, and I just get super excited when the local library does this. It's mostly based on community donations. They have an entire storage shed that they store them all up neatly, and then they just bring boxes over. And because of the pandemic, you have to sign up for a certain appointment. There's only a set number of people. It used to be sprawled out all across like their opening foyer and down the halls and into the back room, but now it's only the back room. So it's a little bit more work, a little bit more crowded, a little hotter, but no less fun for me. So I was thrilled to get an appointment, and I'm just going to confess, I was going to take my camera and film and actually ask people's permission to even interview them, and I had all these ideas. And I got there and I started talking to the other people that were going to be let in with my group, and I just got so excited and distracted, and then carrying around books and trying to keep up with a box of books that I just completely forgot to film. So I'm sorry I don't have that footage to show you, but it wasn't really all that it wasn't picturesque at all. But just imagine a room about the size of a larger living room stacked with tables and bookshelves and lots of books that the only way they're divided up is fiction, nonfiction, and then the fiction's not even divided any more than fiction, and nonfiction did have some cookbooks and some self-help books and some biography section, and then everything else was just mixed in, and there was a children's section which I briefly looked over. So there was also one big shelf of audiobooks, and the audiobooks were only $3. The hardbacks were $2 and paperbacks were $1. So I'm just going to go through and show you, and part of it is just the excitement of seeing new books, right? That always kind of inspires me to read when I watch other people's book hauls. And if you've read any of these, let me know in the comments if you think I should read any of them sooner rather than later. I'll read them all eventually, but if you would like to hear a review sooner than later, leave that one in the comments. So I'll start with the audiobooks. It's a little overwhelming because, again, they were in zero order whatsoever. So I got this one, Vineyard Killer. Who's this by? Philip Craig. Never heard of it, but I just kind of thought having a not lighthearted. Usually mystery stories are not all that lighthearted, but having something interesting to listen to. Particularly, I will this week be getting my second vaccine. If I am taking a sick day, if I actually feel bad in bed, I thought maybe I'd want to listen to a book. So this might be the one. I also found JD Robb. This is one that I have not read by her, and she is Nora Roberts. This is every time she writes her mysteries, cozy mysteries, murders, suspense, thrillers, dramas, she writes under the name JD Robb. So this one I don't know. Thought that's still a good deal. It was so funny because when I went up there, he goes, our audiobooks are $3. Like, that was a lot. I'm like, that brand new, they're like $40, right? It's a deal. It's a deal. And then I almost didn't get this one. It's Decision Points by President Bush. There were a couple of the biographies of the presidents, and I almost got them. And then I thought, I don't know that might be more than I want to know. I'm interested in, particularly the presidents since I've been born, which would be Nixon on. But this one's narrated by George W. Bush. So it's his voice. And I thought, I'm going to listen to that one. And if I like it, I'm going to intentionally seek out. I don't know that any of the other presidents did their own. I know some of them even have autobiographies, although most of them are just official biographies. But if you have any biography that you thought was particularly good of any of the presidents or even the higher up officials, but particularly the presidents, let me know. I'm always looking at them. I'm always almost pulling the trigger, and then I don't do it. And anyway, when I saw that he narrated, I said, that's where I'm going to start, and I will let you know how that goes. Now, I am also from Texas, so that also kind of plays into it. And I did find the James Michener set of Texas. And if you have not read these or heard of these, I kind of grew up with my dad just really loving these. I think he has read everything that he wrote. And basically, it's around a place, but it goes forth telling the stories and interviews of the people who lived there. It is part history, part nonfiction documentary, and I grew up with Texas history because I grew up in Texas, and I just find that is a really amazing, powerful history, and I wanted to read it. It is in 2 volumes because it's so extensive, and I think each of them are still like 1,200 pages each, so this is a lot of reading. I think I got one other one. Yeah, let me pull that one out. I also got Alaska because I lived in Alaska as a teenager. So this actually was published the year we left Alaska. So this came out as we moved away. I can't remember the specific, I think we moved in January and this wasn't released till the summer. But of course my dad got it right away and, you know, read all over it and had just come from there knowing so much about it. So that was really cool. He's got one on the Caribbean, Hawaii, the whole history, backstory of the Hawaiian Islands. They're just supposed to be amazing, but I've always just been intimidated because they're well over 1,000 pages each book. And Texas is 2 parts of over 1,000. So we'll see. Then there was also quite a few books that were like kind of this older vintage style that I just kind of think are nice to have in a library. And this one had some water damage to it. It's called the Vixens. And I think this is the one, if I'm not mistaken, I opened it up and just read the first couple sentences, and it says, when it was over, it was not really over, and that was the trouble. And I think I read that first sentence and I went, solid beginning. I'm going to take this book and I think I'm actually going to try to read it. I don't think it's a long book. I have no idea what it's about because this is, no jacket, no synopsis, no clue. But the Vixens, doesn't that sound spicy? We'll give it a go. Also in that, there's this kind of newer but made to look old book, Selected Plays of Eugene ONeill. And there's several of those, and I don't know that I will read them all, but I did do a theater concentration in college, and I just like the looks of this book, and it was $2. So there was also a copy of this Jane Austen Writer Club. I don't know, I haven't heard anybody talking about this, but this seems like it's, a really interesting book. It actually has suggestions and tips on how to write. So I already know I would be a horrible writer. I'm much better at just talking and storytelling, but if I put it on paper, people don't follow me as well. So I thought that might be fun to read, and I've been reading quite a bit of Jane Austen. And then this book was kind of one of those pretty books. Look, it's North American Wildlife. It's even got a little embossed chipmunk, right? And then look, for those of you who are closer to my age, oh, there's even wildlife in it. Somebody pressed a leaf. Oh, I wish I knew what page that was. We're just going to put that back in there. That's cool. So, but there's this is the kind of book I would not read cover to cover, but it's just got so many amazing charts and information. It's the kind of thing I would sit down with for like 30 minutes and just, glance over and skim over and look at the birds and the wildlife, and there's all kinds of scenery and regional information. And this is exactly the kind of book that I would have sat down with for multiple hours as a little girl. I was particularly hooked on anything that had to do with nature. And my favorite thing in the entire life was getting my Ranger Rick magazine. Drop me a comment if you remember Ranger Rick magazines. I'm just saying it's lost to the children today that is not available, because those were amazing. And then the last kind of hardback, I think it's the last novel or whatever. This is a Jude Deveraux. I've read 2 or 3 of her. They're kind of historical fiction / romance, and the one that just really kind of sold me on her was that it literally had the devil as a character, and I just thought that was so interesting. So the other ones she's well written, she's a light read. This is definitely a kind of book that I would take to the beach or whatnot. I'm not sure what this is, just paper. Anyway, it looks like this is kind of a romance. It's called First Impressions, one of her lighter romance readings. So I thought this might be a great book to take to the beach or whatever, and I wouldn't really care if it got sand or water damage, because I don't know that it's a book I'd keep long term, but $2. And then I did, in the biographies, the only one I took was this one on Gabrielle Douglas for the gymnast, and I just know that that is a huge commitment and discipline, and like your entire life has no other meaning besides going through the process if you're going to be an Olympian and everything. And so I just kind of wanted to read that. I think that will be a quick, fun read. I did get 2 books. Yeah, here they are. 2 books that are also vintage, rare, that are smaller. Again, that I probably am not intending to read, but just to kind of have on my bookshelf to look cute and pretty because they're shorter. This top shelf up here is very short, so these kind of books are really nice. This one is actually selections of the Old Testament, and then this pretty little book, isn't that gorgeous? It's Greatest Things in the World, and I wouldn't even want to read this because it's falling apart, but it's just, I just love this. I love that. That is so pretty. Then there was also several racks in the middle where the books were 50 cents, and it was these kind of, you know, little paperbacks. What do you call these? Mass produced. So here's a James Patterson, and for the life of me, I don't know that I've read any James Patterson. So I picked up a James Patterson, and I have no idea if this is a good one to start with. So drop me a comment if you love James Patterson. If that's like one of your jams and authors, please drop me a comment. Let me know where to start, because I can hold on to this one and get a different one, because I don't think I've read any James Patterson. I read a ton of Dick Francis and Sidney Sheldon and Tom Clancy and you know, some of those, but I don't think I've read one of those. I picked up a cozy mystery, Joyce Trimmel, To Brew or Not to Brew, and it has like a pub and a cat. And I thought, well, I'm not a huge fan of them. I don't read them a ton, but that one's got to be for me. Another JD Robb. I don't think I've read this one. I don't normally keep them. So sometimes I start reading it and then realize I've already read it, but you know, for 50 cents, we'll give it a go. And here's a Christmas one. Rest Ye Murdered Gentlemen, a Christmas murder mystery. So I thought that would be fun to hold on to for Christmas time. And then Death of a Peer. I don't even know how to say that name. Nagio Marsh. I just, you know, this was on the cover. Oh, it's talking about it's better than Agatha Christie. It's in that style. So I love Agatha Christie. And I thought, okay, 50 cents, we'll just round out that. Then here's a book on Texas sayings and folklore, just because my kids were born in Texas. We live in Virginia now, but it just has a lot of fun little things. And I have no idea when this would come in handy. And I may or may not actually read this one because I'm going to tackle those other ones that are going to be way extensive. But I don't know. I just thought this might be fun, even as like a trivia game or something with my teenagers, or just like trying to have like, you know, a Lone Star night or something. I get creative sometime. We don't know how things work out. Then this one I just thought was so awesome. It reminded me of my grandmother because she gave me a book on birds. And again, this is another one of those kind of throwback to my childhood nature books, but specifically just birds. And I'll probably skim through it and read some of it, but not read it cover to cover because it would be too much. But I just like owning it. This is the kind of thing that just makes me happy to have and to look at, as well as this one on cats, Secret Lives of Cats. And just beautiful. This one's got beautiful, beautiful pictures, and it just goes into some of the mythology. This one I'll read cover to cover. This one I will sit down and I don't think it's all that long. It's 106 pages. So I'll actually read this one cover to cover and read the whole thing and think the pictures are cute. And Yeah, and then the last book I got was actually in the children's section, and it was just in a miscellaneous kind of box, and it's not in good shape. It's real beat up and chewed up, and the binding's kind of falling apart. But here's the deal. It's just America, and it's all these beautiful pictures of just around the states with all the people and kids, and it is thick, high glossy pages, and I paid $2 for this. And what I'm gonna do is I love to cut out pictures from magazines, and then I actually spray mount them onto cardboard. But because these are such thick pages, I don't even have to do that. All I have to do is cut them out. So like if I see a picture that I think is really striking, I can just cut it out. And then what I do with them is you put them all out like on the floor or table, or just hanging them on the walls, and you just are when you're with a group of people, and I do this with teenagers, but you can do it with anybody because it's actually a really great thing, and you just ask any question you want, like, how are you feeling today? Which picture embodies how you're feeling today? And then you walk around and you just pick one, and you don't want to overthink it, right? And you just say, this, I was drawn to this, and it's a way to get to know one another, and you can ask real lighthearted questions, or you can ask like real deep things, or which picture is the most important and why, or which one actually makes you feel discontent or fearful, or represents what you want to be when you grow up, or whatever. Or if money was no object, who would you want to be? Those kind of things. Anyway, I just thought this is just amazing. Oh, look, y'all. Look at that picture of the dogs in the raincoat. I mean, this is good. That's maybe my favorite find of the whole thing. So I got all of this. It technically was $41, but they gave it to me for $40. So I got a little discount. And it was in a big box, and I carried it to my car, and it was super exciting. So again, if you want to just scroll through, give me your top favorite one that you would like to hear about. I'll bump it up the list and read it sooner rather than later. I just am thrilled that I've heard it makes about $17,000 for the library, and it gets books recycled and keeps them out of the landfill and out of just the shelves not being read, and it blesses those of us who are buying because it's a great value, right? It's like, I don't know how many books that was, but normally on the used bookstores, it cost me $7 a book. So look up your local library. Just put in library sales near me and read a couple articles, look for the dates, get an appointment if you have to do that. It used to be we could just stop by, but might need an appointment. Check it out. I highly, highly encourage you to do that. If you like these kind of videos, please consider subscribing. I do book videos every Wednesday, and then whenever else I can fit them in. Y'all have an awesome, beautiful, blessed day. Take care.